And they did, but there was a 6 months period from the death until the next election. And I would be appointed for 6 months.
So you were offered a judgeship, and you basically said there's a problem here in terms of the end date for the judgeship and my pension qualifications here.
Yes, absolutely. First off, I really wasn't looking for a full-time job, and I briefly considered the judgeship. I called the judicial retirement system, and I asked them if it's possible to tack on my legislative onto my judicial, and they indicated no, it was not. I'd have to serve as a judge for 4 years before that would be permitted under the law. And I really didn't have a keen interest in commuting to Lansing. I didn't have a keen interest, frankly, in working 5 days a week, 8 or 9 hours a day. And that sort of was the game stopper on that one. So I advised her, thank you.
But no thank you.
But no thank you.
And so then what? She reversed things and said, okay, you tell us what you might be interested in serving on.
That's correct.
And so what happened?
Well, I was at a dinner on Mackinac Island, and the governor was present, and I told his state police detail I'd like to talk to the governor, and just give him that message. It's matters of mutual interest. So we found one another after the dinner, and I said, John, what about the Mackinac State Park Commission? He said, well, you don't have a vacancy. And I said, well, if you can find one, I'm available. And he said, you know, that could be arranged. And I'll call you and advise you how this is going to work. And he talked with a very dear friend of his who was a member of the commission, and with the idea that she could resign, I would take her spot, and he subsequently, at the first opportunity, would reappoint her. She was an outstanding commissioner, and I enjoyed when she was. That's what happened.
Who was that? Do you remember? That's all right.
Anyhow,
okay.
I'll tell you.
Anyway.
In any event, he said when we were having this phone conversation, he said, "Do you want me to send you a letter to this effect?" I said, "No, don't do that. That's not necessary. I've known you for years. We don't deal with one another on put in writing basis." And he said, "Well, when can you have your resignation?" I said, "I'll put it in the mail tomorrow. You'll have it on Friday."
And why was Governor Engler so interested in having you resign from the board and being able to make an appointment to that
Well,
board?
I think for two reasons. I think that his appointee, Mr. Romney,
Scott Romney, brother of Mitt Romney, son of the former governor.
Correct. Was a very dear friend of the governor's personally. He had been a candidate for Attorney General at the Republican Convention, and I don't know if he got the nomination.
No, he lost the nomination, but Engler had backed him for the nomination, was severely embarrassed when he didn't get it, and felt he owed it to Scott Romney to do something for him.
And
Scott Romney was an MSU grad like you. And so apparently he said, well, Governor, boy, this would be great if I could be on the MSU board.
I think that's the case. Absolutely. And that happened. And he got my resignation on Friday, or excuse me, from the board, yes. And then he also had the resignation of his dear friend who was on the Park Commission. And on Monday, he appointed me. And it was bang, bang, and I served there almost 6 years.
What was your tenure like on the Mackinac Island State Park Commission?
Very enjoyable. Fine people. The chairman of the commission was Dennis Cawthorn. Dennis and I served, of course, in the legislature together, as I did with you. Dennis was a member of the Judiciary Committee, very respected, very hardworking, and was the author of legislation on child custody. Very fine piece of work, by the way. Dennis, it was ironic, when we were in the legislature, I was Mr. Chairman to him, and when on the Park Commission, he was Mr. Chairman to me. Sort of reversal of roles, very funny. And of course,
how often did the commission meet?
Once a month, and probably for a total, not every month, probably a total. This was really part-time job, no heavy lifting, perfect cap in my mind for a political career.
Did the commission meetings shift around from city to city? Did you meet on the island? Where did you meet?
Typically, we would meet principally on the island, but we had two alternative meetings. One would be in Lansing at that time. I don't think in the winter, and also we would hold one meeting in Mackinac City to demonstrate to the city our concern, for the fort there.
You know, the Park Commission has always been considered one of the crown jewel appointments for any governor. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's a prestigious place. I mean, I have a home on the island, a cottage, and I wish I were there right now. But for political appointees, people who have served the governor well and are well known to the governor, this is a alternative to some kind of a political position that requires a lot of time, considerable effort, and perhaps it even pays, or maybe it don't pay. The Park Commission doesn't pay. The benefit of the Park Commission is you get to use a cottage during the summer months for a week or 2 week period. And the commissioners pick their weeks based on availability, and that's by most of them considered enough of a gratification for their hard paying attention to what's going on the island. What I must also say, Bill, I'd spent 5 summers there working, right out of high school, right through college.
Right.
I had many friends. I was very happy with my relationship to the community.
One more question. Jim Blanchard, his entire tenure in Congress, 8 years, you served with him. Then he was elected governor in 1992. You were still in Congress. He was governor. What was your impression of Jim Blanchard during the time you knew him?
He's a total political animal. I never knew anyone who could simulate election data better than he could. He'd spend hours looking over polling data, and he was a good friend. When he was in the Congress, we used to take a break during night sessions, sit in his office with the TV on the session, and have a drink, smoke a cigar, and tell stories, and just the two of us. And
you probably worked on the Traxler bailout legislation together.
He really deserves credit for that. Really does. That was his child. He moved it through the House and was very persuasive with the senators, and along with Carl Levin, of course. But it was his major contribution legislatively.
Do you have any other overall impressions of major political figures either in Washington or in Lansing that just really pop out in your mind when you look back over nearly half a century of public service?
That's
Think
painful.
Of that.
I can't think of another vocation that anyone could enjoy more than what I have as a public servant. And the people that, all the way from constituents through presidency to foreign potentates, it was incredible times. And for most, I should have been paying for this. Instead, I got paid for it. Not that that was critical or important. The real thing was the impressions, the experiences. It's kind of like the places I've been, the people I've known, and I couldn't begin to nearly recite these individuals because it would take up too much of our time.
Bob Traxler, it's been a great pleasure conducting this interview. I really enjoyed our time together here this morning.